Dear friends, we have gone through the myths, through the theories, through the real cases. We understand how AI is helping to create. We understand the workings of this train of the future. We know how it works. The most important question remaining is the most personal question. The news of AI is coming out of the horn of plenty. Breakthrough here, breakthrough there. Everything is striding along, dashing along at the speed of light. It may seem that we are living in a sci-fi movie. And this reflection has come about. If or when it will happen is a thing of the past. The only question is, how are we adapting to the things that are already happening? How do we remain human in the world of superpowers? How do you preserve yourself when technologies are pretty much omnipotent? When AI is going to vanquish disease, rid us of routine, make technologies green, preserve the environment, what will motivate us to wake up in the morning? What is going to be the meaning? Let's have an honest conversation about how we are going to be in the world of superpowers, what we stand to lose and what we must preserve. And our experts are going to help us. A PhD of Financial Technology and Data Analysis, Vice Dean for Research and Innovation of RVB University, Armen Beklaryan. Very warm welcome. And profiler, psychologist and psychiatrist, Aleksei Filatov. Aleksei, very warm welcome again. Like I said, it's going to be a very honest, very frank conversation. What if we start from a surprise? Okay, we asked AI to make profiles on you based on publicly available data. Nothing insider. Armen Beklaryan, PhD. Archetype, alchemist of data. Prototype, Dr. Strange. Characteristics: systemic forecasting 45%, tech intuition 35%, strategic synthesis 20%, breakthrough research, anti-fragility business models, development of organizational structures that become more resilient under pressures. Now that algorithms know more about us than we know about ourselves, it's no longer about the data, it's about understanding what questions to put to the data. Your uniqueness is not in what you know, it is in what you are capable of wanting to know, based on the lecture of 2042. Well, initially you started with an approval. How do you feel about being a Dr. Strange? Well, was that out of 100, those percentages? Do they add up to 40%? Well, I think it's every characteristic is a percentage of 100. Well, if they all add up to the 100, then yes, this is total truth. And me wanting to deliver lectures in 2042, yes. I would actually like to look at the prompt that you gave to AI. Well, I like the confidence, okay? I like the confidence of you being able to talk about the things you want to talk about in 2042. Aleksei? Aleksei Filatov, profiler, archetype, architect of human code, prototype, Charles Xavier, ex-people. Characteristics: systemic analysis 40%, intuitive modeling 35%, empathy 25%, breakthrough research, profiling of the potential, defining untapped capabilities of humans based on micro indicators on behavior. In a world where AI has learned to ideally imitate emotions, genuine emotions have become the rarest currency yet. And you've got only one anti-fake detector, your own sincerity, based on a talk of 2032. Well, I think you're a bit short on empathy. Well, if all those things add up to 100, then I don't think you want to have more than 30% empathy. Empathy is, it's a double-edged sword. It needs to be cognitive. It needs to be constructive. Well, are you good? Well, one of you is from the Marvel universe. The other one is from the X-People universe. And Doctor Strange is... Am I from the Marvel? Yes. Okay. And Professor Xavier too. Okay, I'm going to tell my household folks about who I am in their world. Okay, let's talk about more serious things. Never mind what the AI collected on us. Let's talk about how AI is going to help us resolve universally challenging tasks. How is AI going to help us transform our Earth? Hopefully, it's going to be possible. You know, people are a product of the environment. It has always been thus for centuries, for thousands of years. But perhaps over the past couple of decades, we have been more active in transforming our environment ourselves. AI, in your opinion, how is it going to help us transform our environment? Is that going to be in a creative, in a positive way, or do you see certain risks? Who do you want to? Which one of you want to start? It's a free conversation. Well, just as a samurai, you've got the path, you've got the end purpose and goal. If we talk about the reality that we consider to be the most probable, then it might be something along the lines of The Matrix, the movie. Something that the humans might look forward to, sort of. The end state, where the machines might want to become independent, when we trust the machines to make the decisions. Well, down there, it might be totally environmentally friendly. In The Matrix, it was horrible, but actually the people launched the nanobots up into the sky to block out the sun, so the machines could lose energy. Well, Aleksei, to you, on the one hand, we are a product of our environment, but then, on the other hand, as the history unfolds, perhaps we upload ourselves into these devices, diminishing the negative effects on the environment. Are you not afraid that we will depart from this environment by investing ourselves into our digital twins? Well, I would discriminate between mankind, who specifically is mankind, and everything else. Because so far, mankind is very diverse, totally heterogeneous. And AI, even in our country, it's not used by the dominating percentage of the people. So some people will be using AI, definitely. Some people will never be using AI at all. Some people will remain one with nature. They will be just contemplating along the lines that people have been doing thousands of years ago, before anything artificial came about. Some people will be living in AI, in the Matrix, liking the Matrix, and it will be genuinely beautiful. But then this contemplator, he is totally heterogeneous. Mankind does not seem to have a single viewpoint, single outlook, single conception. You're really cornering me, because I was about to transition to the kids, the coming generations. They are not really homogeneous. They're very diverse, interacting with environments, with the nature. What if you look at trying to nurture this environmentally conscious mind, besides the gadgets that you got used to starting from day one in your life? It has been okay so far, but do you not see this as a threat? Because environment can be physical, not just virtual. To be able to appreciate beauty, you need to be... it is a received capability. So the complexity of the world is fathomed through the increasing complexity of our own capabilities, and components like education, components like received knowledge, received ideas of the beauty. We've got ideas like get on a plane and fly to another country. In this sense, the living priorities of the new generation are very different from our generation, and we are not the best of examples. We like working too much. Is this bad? Is this bad already? Well, the problem is, the way I see it, From my practice of teaching, the children of my colleagues and friends are increasingly prone to mentally comfortable health as opposed to overwork, even through overwork for additional wealth. But their state of Zen, their state of being at one with nature, is more important for them. They prefer that over material comforts, over pecuniary remuneration. But then, on the other hand, it is about those received ideas of beauty. This total drive to self-development is about stress very much. How do you avoid stress? Well, stress really brings down your received ideas. Well, we only grow through overcoming traumas. What about this logical mind that we're trying to bring up in our youngsters? Well, we are multitasking very much, and the basic defense against multitasking in the brain is bringing down the number of irritants, putting yourself into this vacuum, into this bubble of comfort, minimize the number of problems, not watch too much, and out of this cocoon, not really venture outside. Tactical problems are being chosen over strategic ones, and this development that you are talking about is, as often as not, in the evolution. It has always been built on overcoming some fundamental, vivid, radical problems of life in the evolution of humans in general. These bottlenecks, we traveled through them. The minority of us, not the majority of us. And these days, yes, the young are trying to minimize the numbers of powerful, vivid challenges for themselves because they require internal mobilization, because they require them to depart from their comfort zone and start doing things actively, despite perhaps not wanting to. And today, "you must" is the turn of phrase runs counter to "I want to." It's really striking a balance, because having to and wanting to. Well, having to is toxic these days, yes. Are we having the wrong kind of youth? It's not that I'm trying to scold our youth. We've got very good youth, but we have been sitting in our comfort zone for too long. It is ensured for the youth, among other things, through the many gadgets, through the many apps that are simplifying day-to-day life. Well, it's a good conversation that we've been having. Just to close off, suspend the environmental track, let me just say that one of the greatest, perhaps, environmental problems on Earth in general is the excess of totally unnecessary thing, irrational overconsumption. If we talk about technologies, AI, do you think they will help us to more rationally use limited resources? I have to remind myself that resources are limited, perhaps at the stage of management or modeling, or perhaps at the stage of neuro-interfaces. Well, what we do know for sure is that AI can definitely help us when rationalizing the use of ingredients to achieve end products. Saving on ferroalloys, we could use on those up to more than 5%. How do you get the same result? How do you get the same product through less pollution, through less resource consumption? How do you achieve the same product? And here AI has really proved its bona fides, and we've got a vivid example of how this has been already working. In terms of whether we do need this or that manufacturing process, or do we need another one, the drive of people to consume with AI or without AI, humans still want to pander to their own wishes of things that that people don't really need. And this is not a direct job for AI. What we can offer to humans, what can we offer humans instead of this consumption?
We can offer a virtual virtual commodity that would compensate the drive for having a physical object. Let's not have it in a physical world, but let's have a virtual object, and that won't require any production and protect the environment. That's one way to develop that. But there are some countries, like Russia. I mean, the majority of countries, they have a lack of resources based on Leontief commodity exchange model. Russia has an abundance of resources. But anyway, it would be a utopia when the heads of all the states would gather together and we would rationally distribute the resources across the planet. And if we have that equal distribution, then AI would be able to resolve the environmental challenge. But I think it sounds too good to be true, or it's too bad to be true. I'm not sure. Aleksei, what do you think? Nothing would change the human rationality, and we want these thousands of tons of this plastic toys that we will put to waste the next day after, playing with it for some time. So the irrationality of the humans is something that we will have to live with for the next thousands of years. I mean, this is how our brain works, but it can be leveraged. You said the right thing. Yes, we can connect our brain through a neural interface and give a virtual good to humans, instead of producing a real one. I think it's real. I'm not such a pessimist in this regard. I think we would be able to come to some arrangement, maybe not on the global scale, but let's start with a smaller scale. A team, a company, a sector. Let's start with small things, and if we can work this out, like how we rationally can use the various resources, including physical and intellectual ones, I think it is the solution, because AI improves and rationalizes the use of our resources within small teams at least. Friends, I think we need to go further. I think that the future is pretty promising in terms of the environment protection. Now, maybe a kind of a quick Q&A session. I am going to ask you some aggressive questions. Great. Okay, so guaranteed security. Option A, we fully control the environment, the nature, and can predict the weather. The B, freedom and the risks of unpredictable nature. The nature remains wild and non-controllable. We live with risks, but we have the connection with the living world. Your choice. Can I say that the majority of people would vote for A and I would vote for B? I live within reality, and I accept the suffering of the real world, and maybe others can live in this world with their optimistic attitude towards everything. Okay, but talking about AI being able to resolve not only the environmental problems, but human health problems, we can see that some of the species on the planet live up to 200 years, maybe even more, like whales or turtles or other things. I'm not going to compare people with them, humans with them, but maybe we would be great to live like for 100, 120 years, 150 years. Can people live for 150 years in 2041? Maybe some will live up to that age, but we're not ready for that. We're talking about the society or about some. No, no. It's not like some individual, some selected few were able to achieve 150. No. It can be the average life expectancy. Is it possible? I don't think we're ready. Even if it's possible, we're not ready for that. I mean, how people, what attitude do they have? Do people have towards their life? Right now, we do not really care about ourselves properly. Yeah, some people say, okay, you might live in this perfect world where everything is under control, and I'm going to be outside of this system. I'll be thinking outside of the box and having a choice. And this is the motivation of the humans. People do not want to have the one-fits-all system. They want to have it like that. They have this one-fits-all system, but I want to have an opportunity to push the button and switch the system on or off. And I'm going to be the orchestrator who would use this button to control it all. But I want to have a choice. So from a mentality perspective, I mean, me as a psychiatrist, I can tell you that we are not ready for having such a long life expectancy. Moreover, from a psychological and evolutionary point of view, it happened like that the humans, our average life expectancy should be like maximum 50 years, better 40 or 45. A couple of thousand years ago, that was the average life expectancy, and our psyche, our brain has not evolved that much. If we compare ourselves with what we had like 1,000 to 2,000 years ago, we would have the same person from a physiological perspective. So the situation changes much quicker than we change. We have too much inertia. We do not change that quickly, and you have to prepare for that 150-year-old lifespan. And for example, if you have a technology that will help you to live for 200 years, who wants to live up to 200 years? Okay, everyone raise their hands. Yeah, everyone rose their hands. Then you're going to live for 200 years, but the question is, are you ready to do anything to make it happen? And the number of raised hands will diminish significantly. I mean, some would raise their hand, but have you personally done anything to make it happen? That will be the minority. So this psychological, biological inertia of humans is very strong. Maybe we can achieve some maturity. I mean, but from a socially point of view, the psyche changes as we age. We become more introverted, more close, more neurotic, more suspicious, more angry. Well, it's like me when I was young. Yeah, when you were young, but when you become a senior citizen, you also start to show these traits. But, maybe we will have the bodies that will be okay, but our psyche matures in such a manner. Can you change that? You can, but we have to raise ourselves properly, to self-educate, to work on ourselves. Will everyone do that? I'm not sure. I'm going to be that funny grandpa. So are you ready to be that 120-year-old grandpa who would be funny? But are you ready for that? Do you want that? What, building on that topic, what will happen on the labor market? Are we ready for that from a social perspective? I mean, the pension funds will go bust, I guess. Mentally, are humans ready for that? Because, we dream of immortality, but what are you going to do in all this free time? How are we going to appreciate the moment we live in? I had this image in my head that, maybe I do look like someone who likes to eat, to take something from the fridge during the night. I like to have some bread in the toaster, to have some Belarusian lard and pork and, some salt, some pickle on top of that. And this is fantastic. And on the one hand, this is the moment that I enjoy. On the other hand, it might be you just lost 10 minutes of your life expectancy, and if I have this balance, I would not. I mean, I would eat that bread with lard anyway. But he will make others select, choose life. It's like a trolley problem, right? But if you talk about you're going to lose 1 hour, 2 hours, a day, 2 days of your life due to that sandwich. Yeah, but if you have AI, who will say, okay, you have this sandwich, it will take 1.5 hours from your life expectancy. If you have this full details, all the details are going to be relayed by AI and will be given a price. All of these moments of joy will be given a price in terms of life expectancy. I would love to have this menu and say, okay, I want these things from the menu because I want to get the most out of life in terms of great experiences as well. But, I want to point out 3 important traits. Being a leader in the AI era. 3 major characteristics there. Cognitive humbleness, understanding you have cognitive limits, and this is finding a balance between the 2 extremities. The one type is kind of our parents. AI is some devilry and you shouldn't even look into that. Or it's our children. Control-C, Control-V. AI is only telling the truth. But the balance between the 2, this Taleb's anti-fragility notion. People want to be anti-fragile, but what you want to do is you want to get something from the cows, some structure from the cows to get to the anti-fragility. And the third component that is going to be the main challenge for everyone, and we're not only talking for the people who are growing right now, but we're talking about the adults. By 2028, 80% of the time is going to be freed up. Now, AI is already freeing up 20-30% of the time. What are we going to do? We're going to replace one routine task with other routine tasks. Understanding how to leverage that freed up time. This is a major question. So if my life is going to be extended, what am I going to do? Why do I need these years of life? And so, to be honest, might sound terrible, but to be honest, I think I wouldn't want to live to be immortal because, if I need to remove some of these great experiences from my life, as the sandwich I was talking about, because all these 400 years of life would not cost this gathering with friends late in the night and drinking some tea with some nice pastries. Absolutely agree. But I do agree with Armen. This sandwich with lard is just fantastic. Let's go. No, I'll skip lunch today. But I would say that there's a couple of guidelines from AI. Will them help us to be more rational and remove some of the instant pleasures? Yes. If we have this information that, okay, get the sandwich, minus 5 minutes, you drank cola or something, some fizzy drink, minus 5 minutes, you ran for a kilometer, you added 10 minutes, And, the water destroys the stone very gradually, so it's going to be the same. It will build awareness among the humans. If we raise people in such a fashion, then it will make a great contribution in terms of effectively using the time that people have, the free time including. Sorry, can I jump in? Equilibrium. Do you remember that great movie? It's like when we can create very cold, emotionless people. Is it a viable model? It is a viable model, but it will not give you joy. Removing the empathy and other things, like you are selecting the sandwich. You're not selecting an algorithm. Maybe in some cases you will select an algorithm, but if you only select algorithms, the life will be pretty bland, and you'll be tired of it. So it is viable for some some period of time, but the question is about the balance. You should have reminders, like this sandwich was great, but it's great to have it in the right time. I think you really destroyed the plan that I had for this panel, but I think I would follow you, because I wanted to talk about the change of the social structures and social institutions, and you started with the personality, with the first link in the chain. Okay, we haven't talked about the upbringing, the raising. Equilibrium, a fantastic movie, by the way. Now that was like about the society where the emotions are punishable. The main character, okay, I'm not going to spoil it, but you should watch it. But since you have talked about this movie, what do you think will be the reality, where we forego the emotions and where we can become more focused, remove emotions, and work through the childhood traumas, and with the push of a button? And I don't know what role AI will play in that, or we will continue with the reality that we have right now. We're harmonious biological machines. We're guided mostly by rational signals, although that is to be debated. So it's be more or less the same, but maybe the AI will be just another assistant that will give us some recommendations. I have this question for the two of you. I think that the way society works, here I am for the karma of Cam blade, or the razor problem. What do you need to do? Depart from your emotions and be rational. It is going to be more costly in all aspects than to live with this imperfect society that lives in line with its emotions. But I think that we are on the way for having the first scenario being more viable. I think we will get there. So, okay, Aleksei, I'll make the question more complicated. We're departing from the emotions. What will be our path for the further development? What is your expectation? And if this assistant gives you a full guideline, a detailed schedule, the special robot will give you some pharmaceutical products, some personal trainer will give you the lessons and the tasks. You'll have a modeled version, a model pathway to the best version of yourself. Can you become this ideal superhuman? What will we select then? I think nothing will change, really. I think even if we have these fantastic guys and fantastic pharma, there will be something else, but there will be people and humans who will not use it, who will ignore it. The majority of the people want to depart from this choice. They don't want to make this choice. You know, Morpheus asked this question to Neo only. But if you ask this question to yourself, like, what pill will you choose, the blue one or the red one? And I don't think you would want to have this question asked to you right now. I would get the red pill, the free will. But that's an unpleasant choice for you right now. Okay, let's then talk about the freedom of choice, the freedom of the will. Amid AI assistance and AI making decisions, write some essays, make some small decisions, generates a picture, writes a scenario, but then we are moving to the business decisions, financial decisions, financial track, health-related decisions. I mean, the temptation is great to move the reins of decision-making somewhere there, to export them. And I'm just going to eat my favorite sandwiches and will have a universal guaranteed income.
Well, you know, it's a great thought. We are living through the era of agent-based AI that's going to last until 2030, and the current models that we got from the major manufacturers, the strongest vendors, starting from 28 through 2030, we are projecting fully neuromorphic chips, and based on the neuromorphic chips, we are building an AGI. And AGI is fully different from the current AI, because the current AI is really mixing things. It gets the ideas and it mixes them. And we are fascinated by the outcome. It's not a new outcome, so we are getting this illusion of the illusion. We don't know that much, but it is still a principle of mixing. AGI is essentially making it capable to disrupt things, to generate fully new artifacts. And this is where we transition to AI innovators. You know, these are AI things that, you want to appoint a meeting. Innovators do not wait for the command. You know, they will set up a meeting. Today, the AI in your fridge analyzes your behavior, your consumption. Yes, mine will understand that I want Greek salad. Well, it will obviously be ordering a feta from a marketplace, definitely Cooper, Sber ecosystem. The delivery robot is going to deliver the feta. The robot household assistant is going to take the delivery and is going to cook the Greek salad. And this is going to be the best Greek salad that you had ever tasted in your life. So my question is, did you want the salad, or did the machines do everything to make you satisfied with that choice? So what difference does it make if you are satisfied with the outcome? And now let's review the situation where, your spouse comes home. The kid runs up to her, "Mom, please help me with my homework." Another robot, $15 a month subscription. He's got the capability of junior school teacher in his head. Will anyone use that? Of course. So the question is, just how far are we going to let go of this decision-making capability? So if we've spotted this red line, I remember the movie with Adam Sandler, where he rewinded the movie. He rewound the 20 years of his life, not make decisions for 20 years of his life. And in this sense, it is about what part of our lives will we choose to make routine for the machine algorithms. And it is about the jobs that machines will find the optimum or suboptimal decisions much quicker versus our capability. My favorite type of answers, when everything is even less understandable. Okay, do give me a direct call, okay? Right. Armen popped the right dilemma, okay? The feta, the Greek salad. I know myself, I'm prone to distrust. I will forego of my own accord, of my own will, a lot of boons, a lot of good things in favor of control. But we know humans, we know they are fundamentally lazy. Are you using the remote control to rewind your life, to wind it forward? No decisions? You know, I may be erroneous. I think it was last year that Robert Sapolsky, Everything's Decided book was translated into Russian. Robert Sapolsky, Everything's Decided. I read it. His viewpoint that we have known very well. He is an evolutionary biologist, primatologist, and his book is dedicated to our genetics, the hormones, making the decisions before we actually make the decisions. And so, since we are genetically preconditioned, since our prior life, upbringing preconditions us to certain things, everything is pretty well calculable. He is not writing it starkly, but this determinist attitude is really transparent in his book. When the book came out, the scientific circles spoke about it very much aloud. And this Sapolsky-style determinism in science does not find agreement in many quarters. There's a lot of nuance. So the question is, you asked the question, is this our choice? Can we influence this choice? Or is this in our genes, in our previous life, in our previous experience? Is that pre-coded? Is the next minute pre-coded by our previous minute? How does this work? Essentially, yes, the dependency is there. What I would like to do is turn this table upside down to upset this deterministic chain. And this is where this human drive pops out. Fighting determinism. You said, I do not want everything to be understandable when I come home. If it is the way I want, humans do not want that. They may want to vote for things to happen the way they want. Well, I didn't say that exactly. I said that I like things to be the way I want them to be. I just don't want them to be predetermined. Yeah, well, sooner or later you will protest. Sooner or later you will be bored. Human mind loses the vitality of the things that go on. In evolution, we're preconditioned to encounter new problems. Okay, let's keep up with this red line. What if we teach our middle and junior level coders to upload things into human minds? What if we learn, just as it happens in the Matrix, to upload the kung fu in our mind? Or perhaps, how prepared are we to upload certain more primitive skills? Well, complicated things, definitely not. They require physical capabilities. They require all kinds of interactions of all kinds of systems in your body. And as for the upbringing, the more we use those gadgets, the less we are capable of making our own decisions. Human mind learns of the decision-making system. When we make the decisions, when we assume the responsibility for these decisions, our brain gets the experience. It senses what the decision leads to. It gets the feedback. Are we following the right path, or are we going the wrong path? And this is how learning happens. And then we might not accept the result. One of the most probable scenarios for the future, my personal view, totally my personal view, and I would just like to run a certain test of my version of the future on you. Well, New Middle Ages, okay, medieval era, society, disintegrating in a good sense. Hopefully it happens peacefully. It disintegrates into certain groupings, coalescing around certain ideas, certain technologies, sub-societies. Some will give off decision-making to AI, will be managed by a group of seniors, some will abandon technologies altogether. Some might transition to wooden utensils, back to the Copper Age. Some will go into the virtual reality in total. Some will hang in a balance. How vital do you think this scenario is? Because, in my view, pressing this button, fast forward X2, X3, might this not lead to those processes? Well, what you're saying, this is another favorite social model of mine, the segregation model of Schelling. My PhD thesis was written on it, in part. You're totally right. There's pretty specific parameters, characteristics. He actually got this Nobel Prize for this, the Schelling's Nobel Prize for Economics. What it says is this. There's a wonderful coefficient, the tolerance ratio. Around you, you've got representatives of other morals, other ethnicities, people not sharing your values. And there's a threshold. Well, I want at least 60% of people around me sharing my views. You press the play button, yes. In various geometrically disparate positions, proportions of clusters, average numbers, covariations, dispersions. In those clusters, everything will be there. So if you press that button, by setting up the end parameters, it will be just about the acceptance of my environment, different from me. This is enough to understand how society is clusterized. So what do you think of this model that we arrived at without actually striking an agreement, prior agreement? Well, you call this New Middle Ages, Medieval Ages. What if the Renaissance arrives? Well, Renaissance, yes, that's a bit more pleasant. Renaissance, peak of creativity, peak of medieval science in Italy, and it was mostly Italy. There were many small kingdoms. They would call that fiefs in the modern world, and back then it was about competition, and the ideas that were conjured up in one cluster, they were pretty quickly spread to other clusters, because they benefited from it, they learned from it. So this topic is important in application to ourselves. Some people will not want to learn, and they will be not on the map. Well, they will not be, and other people who will be using the social lifts, the upward mobility, they will be on the map, and perhaps they will be transforming, 60-40, morphing into, I would take issue with you on this one. Perhaps we take this video service, streaming service, and you are indicating with a like that you're liking something, on the streaming platform or social network. What will the host give you if you gave 3 likes and 14 dislikes? Well, there's a collaborative filtration, actually. As for the clusters, what the recommendation systems are giving you is less based on your personal preferences. They do play a part with a certain weight, but the problem is that overall nomenclature of the goods that you can offer, it is pretty big. So for you to try something out of this overall nomenclature, so for the machine, this is a statistical margin of error. So what we do is we take people like you, same sex, same social standing, same annual income, and we take the entire group of people like you, and we look at what they like. And based on the hypothesis, pretty strong hypothesis, legitimate nonetheless, people like you like the same thing that you like. And then we take a bigger bracket. As a whole, they gave likes and bought all kinds of goods. And based on that, we look at what this bigger group likes, and we see what you have not yet bought, and we start recommending this to you. This is collaborative filtration. Pretty interesting thing. In terms of the machines, since we're using personalization and other keywords, this is essentially a great trick of the machine. The machine passes a judgment on you based on the social group that you belongs to, and this is a pretty interesting thing. That's not a genuine personalization. That's a cohort targeting personalization, because every one of us is really out of touch with the world. We don't leave much trace behind us. Well, that's been so far. Personalization, personification. Friends, another blitz questionnaire that I would like to put to perhaps you, Aleksei. Personality. Okay, we've spoken about this at length. Turning sideways a bit, 2 options to answer. Using neuro-interfaces to fully control emotions. Deep tranquility based on demand. Instant concentration, no stress, no anxiety. You're fully in charge of your mood. You know, flight mode, using this slippage, or keeping the whole gamut of unpredictable feelings. Panic versus euphoria. What would you choose for yourself? A or B? The neuro-interfaces or the spectre? Let's make this complicated. For yourself, make a choice for yourself, and for the mankind. Okay? Well, for the mankind, I would choose a second option. I would keep the entire gamut of emotions. Well, for the first thing, as we speak about this first, I don't think it's pretty achievable in the next 10, 20, maybe 50 years. We need to test it, perhaps. Change the upbringing of a person that quickly to make this matrix. You know, in the Matrix, the movie, we were told that this was the 9th version. Neo was the 6th, okay? Well, the first version of the Matrix, it should not be rolled out across the length and breadth of mankind. We should test it on a small bracket. And I would not like to be one of those testing mice. You know, in actual fact, well, objectively, you can't tell me that we are not in the Matrix. Why don't you imagine that we are in the Matrix already, and the architect really programmed us, and the idea programmed is that the next Matrix is going to be better. And this is where we are. Okay, I'm going harsh, okay. Well, this rampant imagination, how capable is AI of this rampant imagination? When everything is coded, when all the emotions are going to be fully controlled, ideas like these are not going to come by. Life with AI coach will rationalize your activity. Your sleeping, your nutrition, your relationships are all going to be guessed in advance. Living in digital aestheticism. All your decisions are only yours, with all the errors and unexpected discoveries. Well, I would take the coach from the first option, eliminate everything else, and choose the second option. Okay? Well, I'm a bit deviant in my perception of life. It might be difficult for me to choose a coach, or to choose a coach for me. If a coach comes by who is capable of accounting for all my off-track fantasies, and if he can give my 40-year self all the fantasies that I'm conjuring up, perhaps artificially, I'll probably buy this subscription. sold? Yeah. Well, I did throw this in, 150 years out. Or what is a comfortable 150 comfortable? What change will this lead to? We said that we are not really living that far. But the people who were born in the 2000s, they might gain additional 20, 30 years on their current life expectancy. What changes will this lead to?
A couple of tracks, career tracks. How often are we going to change our career path? Family. When a family has like 5 or 8 generations and so on. That's another question. The relations within the family. Let's focus on that, and then let's talk about how can we achieve that bright future. I'm confident that the humanity will be able to work through that. We will find that balance between the certainty and uncertainty. Aleksei, what would be more interesting for you to discuss? Labor market, family? Let's start with the social society. Everything relates to the family. The institute of marriage is changing, is transforming, and this trend has been on the go for quite a while now. So the institute of marriage is going to be more of not a free one, so to speak, but less sustainable. Because when a person gets access to a lot of information, they will become more introverted rather than extroverted. That's one thing. It might be good, it might be bad. Double-edged sword. Jobs. Even now, we can change our professions not once a decade or once in decades. Now we can change professions once every 5 years, or even more frequently, and it's okay. In the future, it's going to be happening quicker. My mom, for example, in 1960s, she was doing artwork, then mathematics, and then psychology. Right now, she is a doctor of sciences in psychology. It's like mathematics and psychology and design. Yeah, these are the people of 60s. Yeah, a non-typical career path for someone from the 60s or 70s. But now people can start with design, go to precise sciences, go to humanities, and it will change every year or 2 years, every 3 years, based on their interests. Armen, so we are educating ourselves, we're testing everything. You are people of the future, so to speak, because the teaching, being an employee, a researcher, education, that's a whole set of skills. Or are we going to see some division? Like some people are going to be in one area, or some will jump from one industry to another one. I think it is worth noting a very interesting fact, given all of the AI capabilities that help us to resolve maybe many research tasks. Leading mathematicians say that in 18 months, the next set of the mathematical problems of the millennia will be resolved, but AI cannot install pipelines, for example, or other types of pipes. I think that as the number of changes grow, the importance of the vocational schools and working jobs, blue-collar jobs, will increase, the plumbers and others, because the machines cannot work in physical infrastructure. And there's quite a long way to go there still, so this is an important accent that you need to focus on. Other people that might have not a profession but a hobby, they will change their hobbies, and the minimum social. They will have a guaranteed income, but AI that decides everything for me should guarantee that I have a regular income, basic income, and a flat, a place to live and other things. And I just do some hobbies. So there will be people like that, this cohort of people. There will be other people who are going to change the professions as per intervals. And as I think, another aspect of our professional life in the Soviet Union, it wasn't a state-run thing, but I do not know what level are we going to work on today. But this is a distribution problem. AI will find a solution on distributing the number of jobs that will be relevant, and we will sign another contract. Give me it's not the contract of giving me the minimum income and I will do nothing, but then I will follow the profession that you have recommended, and in exchange I want something else. So these are going to be these two major forms, radically different forms of social contract. There will be new professions, new jobs. I'm not going to say that they're going to be jobs that will last for the entirety, but there will be professions that are very much related in the social structure that we have right now. And craft, on-demand, niche will remain relevant, yes. And this is why no attempt on AI regulation worked. There are many challenges in why explaining why AI regulation cannot start, but the beauty and the emotions that we experience when we see the beauty is the generation of black swans. This normal distribution makes the stability of this world, but this diversity is helped by these black swans. AI does not think a black swan is a diversity. It thinks a deviation, and it does not factor that in when it is trained. And this is one of the critical challenges that we face right now. Answering the question whether we can trust AI and whether we can, despite anything, despite all of, despite these 99% of the cases where AI works perfectly, but it cannot work with some of the black swans. Yeah, it cannot hedge the risks, right? Yeah. And the question to you, how do you prepare yourself for the ubiquitous use of AI? Living for 150 years, but staying relevant, continuous learning, changing professions, being constantly in focus, so no sandwiches, not cheat meals. Or another option, living 80 years in the moment, carpe diem, focusing on the depth of the feelings and just a simple living. You have less time, but you are more present. Well, if we talk about right now and right here, if we are in the concept of the world, that in the current concept of the world, I would select living 80 years, but a more vivid 80 years living in the moment. I have around 1/2 of that life left. And the question to you, I would even select 60 years, but living it to the fullest. We had a great talk. There are many questions that we have discussed do not have that direct response, really. But and that's good. Yeah, but we are reasonable. We say that people are reasonable, and we love to prepare ourselves. We love to create that safety cushions. Now, I do understand, I do appreciate the fact that AI is the technology that will help the human life to be vivid and full of great experiences, and will make our lives longer. But what safety cushion do we need to have? What are your pragmatic recommendations? How do you do that? Well, first of all, I would concentrate on the following. People have to understand themselves better. This is where we start. What we start with, how we understand our own thinking, our own decision-making process, our balance between rational and irrational things. I mean, if we appreciate it and accept that, I mean, if we understand on the pros and cons, then we might have this mindfulness that will appear, that will help us to accept the risks and to factor them in our activities or not, or in our behavior. But if we know ourselves and if we know other people, and we met, I have a profile about you, you have a profile about me, and we won't need that much time to cooperate, to get synced, to understand each other better and to move to the common goal that unites both of us. So I think this is a great story where AI can be used to unite people, so that we can understand each other better and quicker, and we are moving to the one goal that is beneficial for everyone. And I think the AI can help us here in a major way, because I'm a psychologist and psychiatrist, and based on my background, I would say that we started to understand each other worse. Because I think 70, 80, or 100 years ago, people did not think who they are. What is the difference between myself and other people? And we now started to look at the differences. Like, I am A and you are B, and we're different in this or that manner. But we just do not understand that A and B are just letters of the alphabet. We're the same, we have the same category. The distance between ourselves start to grow. Yet, when we have a machine that can profile a person in a proper way, and great capabilities there, and machine will be able to understand us, it will understand our profile, it will build our profile. We can fine-tune the model, and it will be even better in understanding. And when we understand ourselves, when we understand the person who are we talking to, we will have more connection points to achieve some more important goals. And here the AI will will deliver guaranteed great results. I'm thinking about this story that happened with me last week, a real one. My daughter was just something was happening with her. She was like very emotional, and she was going around the flat. She's very artistic, like her dad, right? Oh, really? Thank you for that. And anyway, I was just I was working, I was just looking at the series, and she was like this, and she was made like just this small scene, and I asked, what's the problem? And she says, well, I'm writing a song. Well, I'm usually supporting her, and she said, okay, I'm going to sing you. She wrote the lyrics, and she starts singing to the best of her abilities based on the lyrics that she made. There is a model, not a Russian model, that can help you to write lyrics. Now, the musical text, the lyrics were not great. That was the first option. The first take was not great. And I said, there's something that's lacking. This song does not ring the bell. I just put the prompt, and I just put the prompt describing the music and says that should ring the bell. That should pull some strings. And me being an adult male, just was listening to this music, and I was making this music, I was making this prompt for my daughter, not for myself, really. And as a demonstration, I put it on to a conference of Sberbank, and this song just was so popular among those who were present at the event of Sberbank, where I was given a lecture, where I was given a speech, and it was absolutely fantastic. They really loved it. What is the narrative, really? The narrative is that the tool has a very wide range of capabilities. We have to think the broadness of the capabilities and the border. Does it have the border even? Do we have any limitations? Yes, and it is expanding. There might be a new model, new version of the model, or even a totally new model that gives an even better result. And this is a major challenge that really drives back home, because here you can make your entertainment more diverse with this tool. Another thing that, if I may, that I think is of great importance is to give yourself a real diversity. I'm not talking about, throwing off your phone. I just like to have a comfort when I have fun. I went on a picnic and there were like this wasps and mosquitoes. 15 minutes of the picnic, we were just having all these wasp attacks because we were eating a watermelon. And we were near the place of our friends, and we just said, let's go to our friend's place, why do we need to have a picnic? But we have the machine, but can we have this diversity? Despite all of these negative feelings, in the end, we have a unique human concept, human life, to have this diversity, that when you need to push yourself outside of the limits of the things that you are accustomed to, I think is great. Oh, that's about that cheat meal, right? The fridge. We were talking about the cheat meal. So the AI is kind of around the humans, but we should not stop seeing humans under the guise of AI, with its rationalities and irrationalities, style of life, and other things. They're going to use AI as an assistant. It's highly unlikely that in the nearest future our style of life, our psyche and our brain, our decision-making processes will change dramatically. We're going to customize that, and AI is going to help us here, but the style of life is going to be different. It is going to nudge us towards properly using AI for our purposes. You forced me to ask the last question. What will be that human in the era of AI, where AI makes decisions, writes music? Your bet is on the fact that we are going to remain the same as we used to be in the last couple of millennia. Yeah, and if we're talking about about the next 50+ years, then yes, the psyche of the people will not change dramatically. AI might be the social lift that might strengthen some of the processes or even slow them down or then correct them, but our brain for the next couple of generations is not going to change. Do you agree? What will be the person, the human, in the world of AI? Monotonous? It will be all the same, but it will be above the average level of the happiness and content with life, thanks to AI and thanks to other tools. It's going to be quite monotonous, low volatility level, and a very small group of people who is going to live in peaks. They want to drop in terms of the level of routine happiness, because their life will become less autonomous and automated, but they will, in this brave new world, find something that others will not see, and this is where they're going to peak in happiness, and there will be the constant battle. What is important, this average, pretty high level of happiness, or some happiness peaks? And these two possible states and the struggle, the competition between the two is going to cluster people and divide people in these two camps, really. So I am confident that this struggle, this fight is going to be a creative one, and AI will help us here. And I do wish ourselves and all our viewers to find the balance within ourselves, and the society will answer answer all the questions that still remain unanswered. And friends, to wrap it up, I would like to say that the future is not defined. It's still there's a lot of room for maneuvers, and our main goal is to remain humans and with the ability to be surprised and continue loving whatever the machine does, because we still have this soul, which is quite an unclear substance, but I hope that everything will be fine. You'll create some new things, and see you soon.